Oh my, we got a turtle in the road up here. It's a box turtle. This is where the development is. Okay, so there's a new annex, or a new area that's being developed, and this turtle obviously lives there. So here it is. Let's see if it's a male or female. It looks like a little male, but it might be a female. Oh yeah, it's a little male. That's kind of sad, y'all. So the city they just bulldozed all these trees and everything here for the development of land that's just been annexed into the city limits, and it's called the Camp House Edition. And so I was running for city council, and I really paid close attention to this because I had to read a lot of bookwork, because they thought I was going to get nominated as an appointment, which almost happened. But because they thought it was going to happen, they gave me all the paperwork to research everything with the city that was going on at that point in time. And at that point in time, this area had not been annexed into the city limits, the Gainesville city limits. And so now it has, and they just bulldozed all these trees and all this this environment that this little turtle lived in. And so he's looking for his home. They only have a small native range of about an acre, maybe 2 acres. And so he's wandering aimlessly now, looking for his home, which is now gone. And so because I have a license to take a certain number of turtles from the wild, I'm going to take this one. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I don't want it to wander aimlessly and get run over by a bulldozer, which it hasn't happened yet, but they're going to be putting in homes all here. A lot of work's going to be done. This turtle's going to die. I guarantee it won't survive the development, all the homes that are going to be put in right here. And so I'm going to take it and decide what to do with it, because I have a license to do that. When a turtle, it's lived all of its life in an area like what this was before they started bulldozing all those trees, it becomes attached to the land. Every winter it'll bury itself in the dirt to hibernate, and then they come out in the spring and they live and make a living off the land where they live. And now that that's a development, this whole area is going to be houses. This turtle will not survive if somebody doesn't save it and figure out another plan for it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll decide, if and where I can transplant it. But the danger with transplanting them is that they try to find, they've got a homing instinct, but they're not good at finding their homes. And so he'll wander and just walk and walk, looking for his home no matter where I take him, trying to find this place that no longer exists for him. And so I'll have to decide where to take him. If I take him and release him, it'll probably be somewhere way out in the middle of nowhere where he could walk a long time and never find a house or more development. So it may be another part of Texas where I release him, or I might not do that. I might not release him. Once you take them from the wild, you can introduce diseases in captivity that could cause them to transfer diseases to wild turtles. So that's a concern that Texas Parks and Wildlife has. So I may keep him, just keep him in captivity. But I got knowing what I know about turtles, I have a moral obligation, and I just like turtles. So it's an opportunity, but also a moral obligation to save this little turtle's life. And so that's what I'm going to do. This area used to be country, and it kind of still is, but because of the rapid development of this new annexed land into the Gainesville city limits, it's not a suitable habitat for this turtle. As you can see, they've bulldozed all these trees. And I used to see deer and all kinds of wildlife here, but now they're going to put a lot of houses here, and that's the whole reason they annexed it into the city. They're going to put roads here, and they're going to put houses, and this is the little turtle's home, and he has nowhere to go. So I'm going to take him because I have a license to take him, and there's only a limited number I can have when I take him from the wild, but he's going to die. There's just no hope for this turtle in this location where the development is happening. So I'll either have to keep him as a pet or transfer him somewhere real quickly into the wild in another location. But the danger of that is, if he catches a disease in captivity, he can transfer diseases to other turtles. I'm not really sure what turtle diseases he can catch, but that's what Texas Parks and Wildlife says, is that the longer you keep them in captivity, the more likely they are to catch a disease, and then they don't want you to release them into the wild, back into the wild. But you know, he can't live a wildlife right here, so I think if I let him go in the wild, it'll be real soon, and it'll be in some other part of Texas where there's just not any developments going on like they are here in Cook County where I live, which is at the intersection of Highway 82 and Interstate 35, a really quickly developing area. So yeah, with this annex being developed, city streets about to be poured, all the concrete, ground's gonna be scraped up and concrete poured for housing foundations. It's just not a suitable habitat for this wild little box turtle anymore, which is why I found him this time of day walking in the road towards, he's looking for his home. His home is gone, and so that's what he's looking for. So but yeah, nice little box turtle. On we go, continuing on the bike ride. But yeah, turtles are really, these kind of turtles are really interesting animals to me. And that's why I've done a lot of research about them. And so when I see them in a situation like this where I know the land is being developed, and in this case it's gone from being country to city. So this is just a classical example of what's killing wildlife. Is, you know, I'm not calling out anybody who's developing the property. It's just part of progress. I understand that, but a lot of people just don't understand that there is a cost, and I understand the cost, or at least I'm aware that this turtle now doesn't have a home because all of that wild habitat, all of these trees were bulldozed, and now streets are going to be put in. The way turtles live, they just can't survive that kind of change to their habitat. When they put in streets and make it a city, and you've got houses, and you know, it's right now what you're seeing is the transition of country to city. And so right now the turtle, because of the bulldozer work there, he's lucky he didn't get killed by the bulldozer, but he doesn't have a home. So this is the kind of situation, exactly the kind of situation, the reason why I got a license, a special license just specifically for situations like this. And so I know they happen, and as a cyclist riding around on these gravel roads, you know, this is the classic example of it happening to a wild turtle. His home destroyed for human development. Now he has no home, and he doesn't realize what's going on. He's just a turtle. We're people, we understand that it's not going to be a suitable habitat and he's going to die. He doesn't understand that, and so even if I release him in another area, he's going to attempt to make his way back home. He'll walk for the rest of his life looking for his home that no longer exists. Okay, so I've gone about 40 miles on my bike ride. I've still got this turtle with me, and now we're back in the area where I caught it, the area that's being annexed. It's called the Camp House Annex right here. That used to be woods and native prairie mixed with trees, and where this turtle lived. And so you can see out there that there's a lot of piles of bulldozed trees. So this land has just been annexed by the city. The work was done by the development group, connected to some local people here that I know, but they probably don't want me mentioning their name. Maybe they don't care, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is this is now within city limits and no longer country. It's being developed for a housing development. And so one of the byproducts of development is, you know, for turtles, they just can't survive it. They can't survive everything that comes along with that kind of development. And even where I just rode my bicycle, I didn't feel comfortable letting this turtle go anywhere because of the cultivation that's going on in the areas where I just rode. I never see turtles, never see box turtles, and that's because the land all around is cultivated plowed up regularly, and that kills the turtles because they live on that land, and the plows kill them, you know, because they're buried in the dirt. They hibernate. They're real sensitive to any kind of development, including agricultural cultivation. So this land right here to my left was part of Camp Howe's. It's been probably 80 years, more than 80 years since it was officially part of the Camp Howe's property, which is a huge section, quadrant of the county. But where we caught the turtle up there on the road, the road turns, and that's where we caught the turtle up there in the road. It's pretty close to this pond. There's a pond up here, and so that is probably has been the water source for this turtle all of its life. My guess is there's plenty more turtles out here. We found one, but everything on this property is being displaced as far as wildlife goes. And turtles, this is an ornate box turtle that we caught, that we found, displaced by the development going on. And it is called, well, the scientific name is Terrapene ornata. Terrapene ornata. It's a very, well, relatively speaking to other box turtles, it can handle arid conditions, but all box turtles do need to, they need water more than tortoises. There's a difference between a box turtle and a tortoise, and that difference is that box turtle is more closely related to an aquatic turtle than it is to a tortoise. True tortoise can handle more arid conditions than a box turtle. So it is the middle, well, it's afternoon, sun is beating down, so any turtles that are wandering around on this property wondering what happened to their home, they're probably buried under the dirt by a few inches. That's what they do during the hot sunny part of the day to get away from the sun, and they'll come out in the evenings and in the mornings. So this development, you know, they took down the fence and everything. It's just, and that, can't even tell if that pond, it looks like a pond, but I don't see any water in it right over there. You see there's a dam, but there may be water at the bottom where we can't see. It's just, whoa. Gotta be careful as I ride. I hit some loose gravel, but there probably are more turtles. We probably just touched the tip of the iceberg. So someone with the desire for conservation could probably talk to the developers and come out here and walk around and maybe save a few more turtles. I wouldn't mind doing that myself with my kids, but we need to talk to the right people before we do anything like that. But this is a big part, it's going to be a big neighborhood, and like I said, I was considered as a candidate on the city council, and they did give me a big packet full of information about a lot of issues, including this annex, before they bulldozed any of this. And it's definitely got a lot of rules and stipulations. You know, the city wants it to succeed, and so it's going to be developed in a certain way. You know, they're going to do it a certain way, and right now I can't even remember how much land it is. Somewhere between 50 and 110 acres, somewhere in there. But you can see the equipment. You can tell where all this clearing has been going on, and that's totally the annexed piece of land that the city and the developers are going to turn into a housing development. So now that we've passed where the turtle was, we're about to hit pavement. Now, as far as legality issues with my permit in Texas Parks and Wildlife, I'm allowed to pick a turtle up off the road as long as it's unpaved. Like this, I can pick it up in the middle of the road. Once you get on pavement, like we're about to get on, to be technically legal in the same situation, you would need to wait for the turtle to be on the shoulder of the road. But that's more a law written for human safety, because they don't want people getting out in the middle of a highway trying to pick up a turtle and getting killed. So they want you to be safe about it. But it's also nice, you know, it's recommended if you can to pick up the turtle from the middle of the road, put it on the side of the road in the direction it's going if you want to keep it in the wild. But that wild turtle that we just caught, that we just saved, rescued, was so displaced and boxed in by development on all sides, and being basically run over by development, that it was not going to survive. It just couldn't survive. It's lucky it did survive long enough for us to find it. But what I'm saying is, I think that there's probably more, and probably the best time of day to find them is in the evening and the early morning.